For Eric J on Sports, I'm Eric J, and this is what I think. The NFL draft happened, and there were a lot of analysts and fans who were confused, and there was a lot of uproar over the fact that the Atlanta Falcons, with the number 8 pick in the draft, drafted quarterback Michael Penix Jr. shortly after they signed quarterback Kirk Cousins to a $180 million deal. The idea or the belief is that since they signed Cousins, who's already 35 years old, to a 3-year deal, that Penix, a high draft pick, is going to have to sit for 2 to 3 years before he gets a chance to play. Now, opinions were split on this draft pick because there were some who felt, oh, well, it worked out for Tom Brady. Tom Brady got drafted. He sat behind Drew Bledsoe. His opportunity came and he shined. Steve Young got drafted. He sat behind Joe Montana. His opportunity came and he shined. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Brett Favre, and Jordan Love sat behind Aaron Rodgers, and it worked out. And then there were other people who were looking at it going, when you draft a guy this high, he's got to play. Or the Falcons could have traded the pick to someone else who needed it, grabbed some more assets, created some more draft picks, and drafted some more players, and someone else could have benefited from the quarterback. And the funny thing about it is all of that is true. Everything that was said was true. Some quarterbacks got to sit and they shined. Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith, and then when he got his opportunity, he became Patrick Mahomes. But at the same time, other quarterbacks get to sit and they never get to play. But fans and analysts need to relax for a second because, in my opinion, drafting Michael Penix checks a lot of boxes for the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, there are people who couldn't believe that the Falcons did this, citing the old saying where if you have 2 quarterbacks, then you don't have any quarterback and things like that. But there were a lot of boxes checked by the Falcons for drafting this pick. First of all, you've got Kirk Cousins, who's been injured a lot, but they signed him to a lot of money. Okay, that was the Falcons' call. Maybe it works out. Maybe they saw him as healthy. Maybe they didn't. Maybe they felt like he was just an insurance policy. It doesn't matter. It's their money. But if Kirk Cousins shines, then you've got a quality starting quarterback. And if Michael Penix is as good as advertised, then you've got a quality backup should Kirk Cousins not be able to play for whatever reason. You've got a quality backup. If Kirk Cousins is not as good as advertised, if Kirk Cousins cannot play for whatever reasons, yes, you have to eat the money you spent on him, but you have Michael Penix who's ready to go. If Kirk Cousins shines and the Falcons are smart, then they can use Michael Penix as a tradable asset. People look at teams like the 49ers with Montana and Young. Eventually, Young had to play, so Montana had to go. He ended up with the Chiefs. Brett Favre had to go so Aaron Rodgers could play, so Brett Favre ended up with the Jets. Aaron Rodgers had to go so Jordan Love could play. Aaron Rodgers ended up with the Jets. But when Tom Brady was the quarterback of the New England Patriots, Bill Belichick and the brain trust of the New England Patriots drafted Brian Hoyer, and they drafted Matt Castle, and they drafted Jimmy Garoppolo, and they drafted Jacoby Brissett. They were constantly drafting quarterbacks. Bill Belichick's mindset was that he always felt like he should draft a quarterback. And the reason was because if the quarterback was good enough, then they could play in the event of an injury. In 2007, when the Patriots went undefeated and went all the way to the Super Bowl and were scoring more points than anybody else, Tom Brady threw 50 touchdown passes, Randy Moss caught 23 touchdown passes, and Wes Welker had 1,200 receiving yards. They went to the Super Bowl and they barely lost to the New York Giants. The next season, Tom Brady got injured. Matt Castle went 11-4 as a starter. Makes Belichick look pretty smart for having drafted Matt Castle because he had a quality quarterback who could play in the event of injury. Later years, when they drafted Garoppolo and Jacoby Brissett, Tom Brady was still playing. They were able to trade Garoppolo to the 49ers and get assets. They were able to trade Jacoby Brissett to the Colts and get assets. So it worked out both ways. So the Falcons, if something happens to Kirk Cousins and Michael Penix can come in and play, looks like a good move. If Kirk Cousins is able to go and he stays healthy for the next 3 years and they get all of what they invested in him from the money they spent, Michael Penix becomes a tradable asset and it looks good for the Falcons. If Michael Penix is so good that in training camp he outshines Kirk Cousins the same way Derek Carr did when the Raiders signed Matt Flynn after Matt Flynn had a 4,000-yard passing season with the Seahawks. They brought in Matt Flynn expecting him to be the starter and expecting Derek Carr to be the backup. And Derek Carr outshined Matt Flynn, and Matt Flynn ended up as the backup, and Derek Carr ended up as the starter, and then Matt Flynn became a tradable asset. If the same thing happens in Atlanta and Michael Penix plays better in the preseason than Kirk Cousins becomes the tradable asset. So the Falcons have a lot of options, and so people should just relax and let it play out. Maybe they plan to trade Michael Penix. Maybe they plan to trade Michael Penix on draft day, but it didn't happen. Maybe they drafted Michael Penix for someone else and the trade just couldn't be made. Maybe they've drafted Michael Penix because they wanted Kirk Cousins, but they weren't sure he was going to be healthy for 3 years. Maybe they wanted to secure the future by having Michael Penix be there once Kirk Cousins no longer could play. Maybe they saw Michael Penix as a tradable asset. Maybe they saw Kirk Cousins as a tradable asset. Who knows? But before we start telling the Falcons that they made a mistake, let's let whatever it was they were thinking play out. See where it goes, and then figure out whether or not it was a good move or a bad move. Remember to like and share this video and subscribe to this channel, and visit the Eric J on Sports website, and follow me on Facebook at Eric J on Sports 1 and on Instagram and Twitter at Eric J on Sports. And for Eric J on Sports, I'm Eric J, and this is what I think.